So a little history on Ausperity. Ausperity presently has 50 clients in North America and Australia. That denotes over 900 devices in the field at 260 locations. From that group of clients, we've pulled a cross-section of use cases from 5 clients covering all sections of the petroleum industry, but also multiple different use cases that our clients are using both on the analytics side, but also from a remote inspections and monitoring side. So one of the main reasons that's driving us to present this to an open forum in this format is the massive increase that we've seen since March 12th of both existing clients adding new users to the platform at a rate of about a 30% increase from March 12th to today, as well as the amount of times that members of organizations are logging into our platform to perform various functions in this new normal that we're living in of physical distancing, commodity volatility, and an overall disruption in global business. But the necessity of every company to still have effective monitoring of their assets, not just by zeros and ones or SCADA data, but also from a visual perspective to get that contextual and intuitive line of sight to what is actually happening or to validate what is happening on other systems. So I'll run through this. We'll be about 20 minutes on the presentation and then we'll roll into the Q&A. So what is Ausperity? What do we do? So we are an intelligent visual monitoring platform. And at the edge, we have either existing cameras that yourselves may have or our clients have. As we're very camera agnostic, we can bring those cameras from other CCTV systems or from fixed cameras and pull that information back into our platform without disrupting that platform and make it intelligent or more proactive as opposed to a reactive device. And that's done in a couple of ways. One is with our edge device, which is our cloud bridge. Does the first layer of analytic, and it's also an NVR for historical video. And then all that's transmitted to the cloud is those exceptions, those reports, those inspections that you want to be able to view remotely. What that allows us to do after that layer of analytics in the cloud is actually deliver the specific information that each individual within the organization across the enterprise wants to receive. So at some levels, it may be an immediate alert to an anomaly that's occurring in the field. For others, it may be a daily or a twice daily report, or for some, it may just be the ability to go into our platform and actually review what has occurred over a period of time. Whoops, sorry about that. My finger's a little faster than my brain. One of the main areas that we have seen an incredible uptick in use of our platform is through remote automated inspections. To define that, it is automatically the client is sent an inspection report of the asset or assets or points on an asset that they want to receive at a certain interval over the day or over the week. In most cases, clients are getting them once or twice a day, earlier in the morning, later in the evening. And what that allows is that on-demand automated trigger that in the past would be a person going to the field to inspect these same pieces of equipment, But this is actually giving it to them at their desk, in their truck, on their phone, on their iPad, wherever it may be. So it allows them the ability to remotely review that. Another component that it is doing for some of our clients is actually giving us the ability to start to collect data, to create training data sets to do specific analytic analysis of areas or equipment specific to their needs. As well as, you know, in this particular client, these three images are actually the same camera with multiple viewpoints on it. It's a pan tilt zoom camera. It's fixed on the position on the right of the screen, and it's actually used for multiple other analytic use cases in that setting. And that's for security, contractor auditing, to be able to go back and audit times of entry and exit of contractors to ensure the billing is correct, and also for loan worker safety and validation of arrival and departure. So you can have one camera that's operating multiple use cases, but also allowing you the ability to run multiple analytics at the same time. This is an example of what I was talking about. If you look on the left-hand side, those are all viewpoints from one camera for an inspection rotation that they get twice a day. On the right side is the automated report that comes out of that. That also allows, through our API, should there be an issue, we can also have that report sent to a ticketing system or an asset management platform with this third-party time and date stamped audited image trail. One of the main areas of the analytic side that we do is enabling that true management by exception tool in the field, where in contrast to a CCTV system where there's multiple screens and an operator looking at that screen to see an anomaly or hear of something and react to it, we are actually proactively through multiple analytic layers sending an alert or that exception to the desired person. So, you know, this particular client, we operate both in the downstream refined product space as well as in the upstream space. And I'd like to go through a few unique pieces that we do for them. One is, as a very busy hydrocarbons terminal, they have multiple refined product risers that are constantly being offloaded into trucks to go to market. And in the past, they used to have a lot of operator time wasted sitting with the trucking company's safety team doing audits on their drivers. For them, one of the biggest things they wanted to do was get those operators back operating the facility as opposed to looking after the inspectors that were there. So we actually set up a live terminal in the driver's room of this facility where the auditors now sat there and either watched the loading procedure of their drivers live, or they could get the tickets of when their company's trucks were there, and they could go back historically and actually audit multiple occurrences over the past, you know, week. Instead of going there a couple times a week to monitor, they can go there once for 4 hours and watch multiple events. They also came to us with a very unique problem that was costing them a lot of money, and that was the ability as a terminal that receives product by rail they were having the locomotives arrive unannounced, and they can't see the entrance to the siding and the risers in the rail yard through the tanks. They could with a camera, but they weren't always staring at the screen. So they asked us to train an algorithm that would alert to a train arriving half a kilometer away, and the ability for that to be an audible alert within their control center. So in turn, they were able to get out to the gate, unlock it, but get the rail cars on the proper sidings, whereas in the past, multiple times a week, they would have the engineer of the locomotive cut the lock and actually just drop the cars, which cost them $2,500 an hour to get another locomotive to come out and shunt them to the correct siding. So they figured they saved about $5,000 a week by having our system installed there. So they realized an immediately high ROI with that one camera. That camera is also alerting because it's a vulnerable entrance point. It's also alerting to people entering across that fence line. In their upstream side of the business, they have a few really unique assets that are in unregulated park areas or national or provincial state parks that are somewhat open to the public, but at the top of mountains. So they're very inaccessible during the winter months in the northern climates. So we put a multi-camera system in there that allowed them to do everything from monitor their flare, notify to activity in specific areas, but not alert them to hikers just passing through the pathway, but once they got into specific areas. And this gave them great insight as to the activity and allowed them to remotely inspect this on a daily basis as to going there weekly or as required. And then, of course, in the downstream space, we also do a fair bit of monitoring, as mentioned before, around areas that are entered by vehicles to ensure they're the correct vehicle. For example, if a pickup truck was sitting at the gate, they would get an alert because it's a tanker-only entrance. So there's multiple analytic solutions in two areas of the market for this one client that brings all the information to one platform with user-based access to what they're able to view. One of our biggest success stories in the energy sector is with one particular client with very remote assets. And when they came to us, they were losing across their asset base over $50,000 Canadian a week. So we took quite a large analysis of the area that was being penetrated and some other security issues that they had hired a security contractor, and we worked together. Their goal wasn't for their operators to go out and catch people doing it. It was to get the ability to start getting recovery of their stolen goods, but also to get charges laid. And through that, they realized after 3 weeks, they were saving that $50,000 a month because they had a lot of continuous repeat offenders that were stealing from the same sites, i.e. they would steal something, it would subsequently get replaced, and then it would get stolen. In this case, in conjunction with their security team that they hired to do an analysis of the site for our platform, they were saving, and they continue to realize that savings of $50,000. And it's not just in hard goods being stolen, but it's in shutdown production because wire was cut or because tanks were played with. And that's considerable across 9 assets to be saving, you know, $200,000 a month across a year. That's a considerable amount of profit. And they continue to add our system to other assets that they have from both the security but also the operational perspective. So these cameras went in as security-based cameras, and over the last 3 to 4 months are starting to also transition into that operational phase of monitoring truck traffic, understanding when loads are coming, understanding times that are congested, and being alerted to those events. So here's a client that solely had the goal of automating one field that was producing less than 30 barrels a day. And their goal was to keep operators, contractors off the sites to reduce cost. And what this field includes is 12 producing wells, 2 batteries, and some other infrastructure assets within those batteries. So one of the problems that they had was actually validation, once they took the people off the sites, of tankers coming and actually removing, because they were still on a written ticket system. So what we're able to do is alert and send a report that a truck has come, and through other camera positions, you know, identify that truck for them so they can see the truck number, the trucking company's name, the time, and understand that that truck was there, its capacity is X, so it took so many barrels off of their tank battery. The other one at this battery actually has 2 flare stacks. One of their concerns, being an older area, is they never knew remotely if the flare stack was on or off, although they could flare remotely. So what we did was, through the use of thermal cameras, we're able to tell them if the flare is on or off by alerting them. We can tell them if the flame is too big to their parameters, or we can tell them if the flame is on but inside the stack. So what that gives them is a good operational view from a regulatory compliance of whether it's safe to be flaring. And keep in mind, everything I'm saying is these management by exceptions. You're sent an alert, which directs you straight to our platform and enables you the ability to watch whatever's happening live and dispatch accordingly. In this case, they saved very quickly. The regulatory team of this organization was very appreciative of them doing this, and because they were saving a lot of money in fines for flaring at different times. The other benefit that comes of that is we can also detect any asset integrity issues within those flare stacks on the side that the camera's on. These are generally inspections that are done by drones, but this gives them a quick overview should they have a thinning area in the stack or if there's a crack as well, which was an added benefit for their integrity team. They also wanted the ability to remotely look at the wellhead at least once a day and be sent a report twice a day. So at the beginning of each shift within their organization. So you can see that in the bottom left, we are monitoring those wellheads. They go on and do a typical inspection. They play the video live for 30 seconds and they're able to see it. The other one was, you know, where there's not necessarily analytics critical infrastructure on the piping side and the electrical side multiple times a day without physically being there to see if there's any integrity issues. And as we start to collect more data, as I mentioned earlier, for clients, we're able to start to build models to detect those anomalies within that asset base. Oops. We have a midstream client that is actually our largest client in North America. And again, something that started off as security 4 years ago is now become a significantly large portion of their daily operations. And, you know, I have a video that'll show you exactly how they use our platform in a particular situation. But again, you can see at one of their facilities, the flare stack monitoring is extremely important to them. Instead of sending someone out, whether it be from the facility or remotely going to this facility to check it, they have eyes to physically see the size of the flame, what's happening, is it on, is it off, and so on. We also do, you know, some remote logistics monitoring, i.e. we have the ability to count or time a truck or a train at an asset. And what that enables them to do is, back to their control center, they're getting this constant information visually where they want a tanker, their parameters are 37 minutes to offload into the riser. And what this enables them to do is get an alert at 36 minutes and subsequently show them the number of trucks that are behind it waiting as well. Whereas one, they're going to check to see what is holding up that offload. And two, is it time we reroute trucks to reduce non-productive time to other risers that we have in the vicinity? One thing we do extensively for this organization as well is we go from their engineered drawings before a facility is built and actually design a camera system, and then also use those cameras through the construction phase to monitor that new asset construction. So it gives the organization at afar the ability to see how that's going. It adds a great security feature to it, and finance and engineering really appreciate it because they actually can see and understand why and when non-productive time is occurring. From an environmental perspective, we do some remote water monitoring as well, where we have the ability to alert to water levels, too high or too low, to provide them remote insight. Again, we don't think of water being an environmental concern, but most regulatory boards have a minimum and a maximum that your water can be at, particularly in Northern Canada through the breakup period when we have, you know, we start to get overland flooding and such. So this allows them remotely to be able to see that as opposed to positioning a person out there to constantly monitor it. So, you know, on the side here, I've got, you know, I spoke of the monitoring of trucks at risers and timing them, understanding what's going on around them. These are a couple images from our platform that are doing just that. And I'm going to show a little video here. It's about a minute long, but it really defines the overall use case of monitoring these risers. And I'll preface it with everyone in this video is safe, but I'll tell the story as the video goes on. So this is a trucking company offloading condensate into a set of risers in the evening at an unmanned set of risers. in northern Canada. And what happens is, as soon as these trucks pull into these unmanned sites, their control center, which is about 200 kilometers away, is actually notified that the truck is there, and they start to watch the offloading procedure. So you can see here at the riser, it's blowing the hose off and spraying condensate onto the truck. So the driver has shut the riser off, subsequently realized he needs to shut his truck off, and done so safely. So at the point of that condensate spray, they had started the dispatch procedure for their hazmat team to go out there. And in about, right now, they responded, they sent out their first response team as that truck caught fire. So think about that process and what's happened here without that visual alerting back to their operations control center. This event could have happened and that driver did not have communications at that point to communicate. Luckily, in this case, he did, but there are many areas where he may not have had communications because that cab of that truck went up and his phone and his two-way radio could have been in there. After that, there's the post-event analysis that went on. The client came to us, and it ended up being 5 parties involved in this, because as they went back historically, they realized that event was actually caused by the actions of a vacuum truck service that was cleaning out the riser 3 hours earlier. So take all the regulatory commissions involved in this and your 5 corporations that were involved in this, that historical video of that event and their quick response to it actually saved them millions of dollars and a minimum of 6 months of legal wrangling back and forth to come out to a result. So their savings was in the millions because of that one visual sensor and the process they've set up to watch their remote facilities. So it's really intuitive to them and their drivers and their contractors to be able to understand that they are being monitored for their safety and for operational purposes. So that's overview of 5 clients and how they're using our systems to work remotely. And in all these cases, they were working remotely previously. In the new remote world of social distancing and the way we are operating businesses now, their usage and their number of users has increased, 30, 40, 50, in some cases over 100% since that March 12th timeframe. So as we look forward within our organization and what we're doing, we are very client-driven in what we do from an analytic perspective, monitoring and inspection perspective. We've got some really neat things we're working on, and some will be out in the next weeks. But we're working on some advanced thermal analytics using IR and thermal cameras. We're starting the process of visually validating liquid leaks in multiple forms. A couple, the bottom 3 will be out and should be out by the end of Q2, and that's remote tank level monitoring. So being able to quantify the hydrocarbons within a steel tank from the outside. We're adding audio analytics, so we do have the ability to transmit, hear, and record audio. We're adding analytics to that, so anomalies in sound and decibel levels that could indicate problems with reciprocating equipment or with pressure sensitive areas. And the most current that will be released in weeks is actually PPE detection. So we'll be able to detect, you know, reflective attire, as well as if they're wearing hard hats in our first release of that. So, you know, we're constantly evolving at our direction, but also at the direction of our clients as we get multiple requests for the same type of anomaly detection. And the really great thing is, being a cloud platform, this is not to add different analytics to your camera or cameras across the enterprise. Doesn't require more hardware. Those analytics are applied in the cloud and then detected from that point. We have a recent product that we advanced a little bit with the rapidly changing economy. That is a real quick plug and play device that we offer the hardware and the software as a service, and seeing multiple deployments at the wellhead to be able to monitor these assets as operators' bases greatly expand that they're responsible for. And this whole system, including the software and the hardware, is $125 a month as an operating expense. So it's a great deployment. It's very quick. The clients are able to install it themselves and go from there. So one last slide and we'll get into questions. Here's an example of some of our clients in North America. You know, you can see that it goes from, you know, your tier 1 super majors down to your tier 3 independents. And a lot of these are driven by the need that was realized over the last 3 to 4 years, that the workforce, we need to be able to do more with fewer people, and our system, combined with other systems out there, enable that. What we do is give that insightful, visual, intuitive view of what's occurring in the field and alerting to that. Again, thank you, and we look forward to interacting in the very near future with each and every one of you. So stay tuned to your email. We'll have something out here in the next few days with some more information.